Forever. Dog.
Warning, the following podcast is full of heated discussion, heated wheel rubber, and hearts being heated up after receiving warm praise from a robot. Basically, things get heated as Paul Scheer returns to talk Transformers The Ride 3D on today's podcast, The Ride.
Welcome to Podcast The Ride, the theme park podcast where it takes a 30-foot tall robot to conquer our fear of intimacy. I'm Scott Gardner, joined by Jason Sheridan.
I was, as you started that sentence, I was like, is he going to say intimacy? Because that's what I would say, fear of intimacy.
Well, it's one of the big areas of conversation today for a big ride, and that was a joke mainly aimed at Mike Carlson, host number 3.
I think this is... Correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, but the idea of intimacy on a ride started from a discussion of this particular theme park attraction.
No question.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
and it's which is something we're gonna have to loop our guest in. There's a lot of mythology, tons of mythology happening. That's what I was thinking about with this topic. This is a ride that has had a vice grip on this podcast since the very beginning. Some of the hottest takes, some of the longest running debates.
Yeah.
It has just always been a presence despite not having an episode of its own until now. The name of this ride is Transformers The Ride. It is at Universal Studios Parks worldwide, Hollywood, Orlando, and the others. And we're here. We're here to do it. And I think that we needed not just a big guest, but somebody who can sort of what's the word?
Mediator?
Or arbitrary. Yeah, that mediator is correct. Yeah, because there's so much here to go over. We need an outsider to help us parse all of it. But of course not an outsider. He's joined us many times, but for the first time in a long time, from How Did This Get Made, from his Twitch channel, Friend Zone, the Optimus Prime of comedy podcasting, it's Paul Scheer. Hi, Paul.
I am honored to really be blessed with this episode. This is an important episode, and it is, for me, a ride that I have a lot of opinions on, a lot of theories about, and I can't wait. I don't even want to give you an idea of what I think about this until the conversation really starts, because I know where some of you fall on this. So I would like to, I don't want to sway the boat either way before the conversation properly gets started.
Yeah, I know. We shouldn't all tip it too much. And I hope that's not what I'm doing by diving into this. But I'm so excited, Paul, that you could join us for Transformers specifically, because in my mind, you were the only guest who could do it, because there's a bit of a history here. And I don't know if you recall the history. And I'm going to open a wound, but I'd say it's mainly a wound for me. I think this is my wound. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I do. I think I do, and I want to hear it. I want to hear it maybe from a different perspective, and that's really where I think I don't think I could explain it to someone else. So I think, but I understand it in my heart.
Yeah,
so
let's Rashomon this shit.
Yeah.
And
I'd be curious to hear it from yours too, and how you had to discover this. It really goes to the roots of Podcast The Ride, the very beginning. And actually, even before that, it goes back to the Doughboys, to your first appearance on the Doughboys. Whenever this was, the episode was Bubba Gump's, I believe.
Yes, yeah.
So you were on Doughboys, and in my memory, and I italicize that in my notes, and so let me italicize it out loud. This is in my memory. What you had said, what I thought you had said about Transformers The Ride, is that it was your favorite ride. This is what I thought.
Well, let's date it of when I said it.
Probably 2017, unless I'm wrong.
Let's just say it's pre Star Wars Land. It's pre Rise. It's pre Spider-Man The Ride. It is, and I believe the way that I said it. And again, maybe I didn't use it to all, whatever. I'm not trying to step back from it, but I did believe at that point it is one of the most technologically advanced, best rides, hands down. That's how I always felt. Like that to me was the evolution of the perfect ride because it had 3D elements. It was moving through on a track, but it also used screens. It wasn't exclusively screen-based. So I felt like there were a lot of elements. I was like, more of that. And that is coming off of my belief before that from Islands of Adventure, Spider-Man the ride was my favorite new class of ride. Again, I'm talking about new class of ride, not like the best ride, my favorite ride, but if that's the future, I want to be on that. Like I want to see more track rides that involve a lot of things. Now we're gonna have a different conversation because of, Rise. I've been to Japan to go on some rides there. I've had some different experiences.
That's
right.
pretty
So
bad.
the evolution of the ride has grown, but I have some theories. But yes, so that I would say you're pretty right. Well, I wasn't saying it wasn't like Mr. Toad's might be my go-to answer for that. If I, or like Haunted Mansion in the grand scheme of things. But that's not talking about like personal connection. This is more from a technological standpoint.
Greatest, what's blowing you away right then and there? And I absolutely agree. Like from a technical standpoint, it is incredible. It is a perfectly valid answer. But this is again, the shame is on me here because what I recalled was you saying it is definitively your favorite ride or the best ride or something definitive like that. And then we start recording our show. And one of the first episodes, I don't remember what, maybe it was with Mitch, but I think this conversation came up. And I, in the episode, say, oh yeah, I remember Paul saying that. Like, oh boy, I don't know about that. I was all shitty and snarky, dismissive about that opinion. And then I filed that away, put it in a drawer, forgot that anyone would hear this ever because this, I believe, was before the show started coming out. So I'm like, oh no, it does. Certainly no one will ever hear that, let alone Paul himself. Then I think as soon as the episode comes out, you DM me and say, I feel like I must have had a caveat for saying Transformers is the best ride.
So there it is. So yeah, there it is. Like, and I just gave you the exact same response.
Yes, completely.
Consistent.
It's very consistent. Yeah. So I at this point go beat red because two things are happening. One, I'm very excited that you are listening to the show. Ideal person. We are so honored and have always been honored to have you involved in the show. And so that's great. So Paul's listening and he heard me being shitty about a perfectly valid opinion and getting it a little wrong. So this is a thing that I've felt bad about for 5 years. You probably forgot about it entirely. I have not. This has been
100%,
searing.
100%. I mean, I've been on the show multiple times.
Yeah.
We have seen each other socially. No, I don't care. Like, look,
we skydove together.
That's a brotherhood that you can't undo when you indoor skydive together.
We fly.
Fake brotherhood of fake flying.
The city walk. Yes. All I'll say is this: if anyone was going to give me shit about my theme park opinions, I welcome it from the three of you. Like,
here.
Thank you.
That's a letting off the
take
hook
me to task.
Oh.
I will have a defense for it. I don't. I appreciate a theme park, and we've been there. We've been there on the opening day of Rise of the Resistance. We've done it. I'm there. I'm not a fair weather fan. I'm not a person who's like, oh, when I was a kid, I liked it, or I like bringing my kids to it. No, I'm there, but I will take my lumps. If properly given, and then I feel like I just wanted to make sure that you knew and didn't think less of me.
Not remotely, and especially because, again, these are my lumps to get because I went and listened to the episode in question, and you do in fact say this is not best, this is not definitive. What is posed to you is to make a Mount theme park more. And to put different attractions on the Mount theme park, and Transformers is the first thing out of your mouth. That's what's like exciting you right now. But you say Mr. Toad, you say Goliath, I believe at Six Flags. Okay, it's a healthy and in a list of 4. It is not what I defined it as, and even if it was, why should that be a problem? Although
this is interesting because wow, I don't even remember that. But now that you bring it up, first of all, I will say this again. When it was recorded, we got to put that into context. But secondly, where it was recorded or where our food was eaten, which was Universal City Walk. So I'm also coming off of Bubba Gump. That's where we're there. I'm thinking about things of that nature. I will also say, truth be told, I find Universal theme park rides to be lackluster, and in an effort to throw a bone, that's where I threw it. That's where I threw it to that ride. And again, I still feel very strongly about that ride. I really like that ride a lot. But if I'm trying to be equal in creating this Mount Rushmore, I don't want to be one corporation. I want to spread it around multiple corporations. That's why Goliath makes the list.
Yeah, you really did. You did your due diligence. They all got on there. They all got on the mount. I should also say, just for the record, in listening to the conversation that continued, that you and Mitch go on the record as not liking the Johnny Depp robot, while Weiger defends it. So I just want to put that out there while we're digging through old podcast episodes. But again, remember the date, 2017. Remember the date.
Yes, this is important. And look, and I'll say this, regardless of how I feel about Johnny Depp, I still feel the same way about the animatronic in the sense that it dates it. The one thing that Disney has with very few rides is a timelessness to it. And all of a sudden you're popping in, at one point, a worldwide giant celebrity. I felt it cheapens it. It cheapens it a bit. Like, do we need it? Do we need to know that that's a Jack Sparrow adventure? I don't think so.
No, yeah.
I mean, now, meanwhile, you put the Kraken in there, or whatever the hell the squid face guy. I'm all in for that because that is timeless. Squid face guy is timeless to me. That feels more universal. Like, ooh, that's a piratey kind of a thing.
Well, and not tied to like one guy. I think it's tricky when you get into one actor because it does rely on that actor not being like weird.
Who knows what could happen?
What could happen? What could happen?
Yeah.
Anything.
Look, I would say if we're going to go on a larger scale conversation, is Pirates the cursed ride? I mean, we go from this idea that, it's the one that's been the most revamped and changed. And at a certain point wasn't even going to be in Florida, but people are like, we want that Pirates ride. You were going to build this like kind of larger in the mountain coaster that was going to take us through more problematic areas of our history of the United States. But, that there is a cursed nature to the Pirates ride.
That's interesting. It does keep running into and curses of like accidents and the water being toxic. There's like all kinds of level of curse on that thing.
There's a lot. There's
overloaded nowadays, like way too many boats. So like the end of the ride, you're just getting slammed by the boat
jam.
behind you.
Oh my God, the worst.
Yeah, the Black Pearl was cursed and the ride was cursed.
Yeah.
Okay, now let me say that because there's a little bit more that comes out of this.
Please, I'm very excited that we're going to the tape.
We're going deep, yeah.
This is to go into the archaeology of the DMs a little more. Here's now as we patch up old wounds, and thank you for making me feel better about my early episode shittiness.
Never feel badly about that. I wish you would approach me sooner.
Oh, geez. Okay, I'm glad it's out in the open. But now I'm worried. But I think we have to. But I'm fearful that we're going to open up a new wound, a new scar. When I say something that you said soon after, and here we go. Also, just rewrote Spidey. Transformers is better. That I stand by as someone who once thought that Spidey was one of the best.
Yes.
Now at this point, I fear for the opinions of Jason Sheridan.
Well. Here we go. Because I have been critical of this ride in that it is. I have always thought of it as lesser than Spider-Man. Spider-Man, an opening day attraction at Islands of Adventure. So we're clocking it at 1999, and this opens over a decade later. And while it does have a number of upgrades, it hits a lot of the same beats almost of the ride. It hits a lot of very similar moments with characters that are not like my dear friend Spider-Man. Characters that I'm like, what are these characters' personalities? And it was only digging into This happens a lot on the show. I dig into a ride and it grows on me if I'm kind of indifferent to it or skeptical of it. Because a lot of the cue videos for this ride, I'm like, okay, this is what this character's deal is. And okay, they're setting up this big set piece, like this big moment in the ride. It makes a little more sense now. That said, I was racking my brain because I was a Transformers kid. I had Transformers toys growing up. And I could not remember any storylines from the show. The only thing that stuck out in my mind was the CG one from the later 90s called Beast Wars that takes place entirely in barren landscapes because CG was very expensive.
Right, I remember this.
Oh, I see. So it always had to be deserts. And
and they were
ice
animals.
fields.
They were like prehistoric animals, so it kind of makes sense, like dinosaur age. And then being like a 13, 14-year-old too smart for my own good, renting the Transformers movie and going like, hey, this was Orson Welles' last picture before he died. He was Omicron, the big planet one. That's Orson Welles.
He was Omicron.
The name was Omicron?
I think, right?
I think so, yeah.
Wow.
Again, remember the year. Well, maybe we all need to sort of address a little bit where we're coming at it from because.
Well, can I just ask one quick question?
Yeah.
Just because when was the last time you rode Spider-Man in Islands of Adventure? I want to put that down too, because that is, I believe when I recorded that fresh off of Islands of Adventure.
Sorry, that's by the way, not to step on that, but Mike is saying it's not Omicron.
It's not
It's not Omicron. What is it called?
Unicron.
Unicron.
Close.
Okay.
That's the
Omicron
next.
felt a
That's
little-
the next.
Very
That's
close.
by next Christmas we'll all be getting that.
I'll be sick with Omicron.
Yeah, well, all of Unicron. Right,
okay.
that's a strain of the thing. Okay.
Yes, that's why
But it's
I
also
was
like
hung up on it.
It's a letter in the isn't it a letter in the Latin
Yeah, it is a
alphabet?
letter.
It's
Yeah,
something
it
else.
is a letter,
Yeah. Who can remember all the
yeah.
strains now? Okay, yes. Last time on Spider-Man, you were saying?
The three of us were down there in 2019, and that was the last time I read that.
Well,
And
because here's my and I know that this is not a definitive argument between the two, but I want to put a couple of not even caveats. Spider-Man the ride at Islands of Adventure has shown its age, and I think that's what I was feeling. There's a certain, we talk about timelessness and stuff like that. Like when I got on that ride, I had so much excitement. I was like, I love this one. And I walked there and I had one of those fast passes, but I didn't even need it because it was empty. Meanwhile, the Hulk ride, which has been redone, they kind of redid the inside. Now we all know all the backdrop of why Marvel Islands of Adventure can only be in the Fox cartoon world of like the early 90s. But
Oh, yeah, sure. Generic.
but
yeah.
right, yeah. So, I go there really looking forward, like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. And it's empty. And I walk right on. And I was like, oh, it felt like it showed its age. And there's something about that like maybe screen rides might be showing. And this is going to be curious to see, like, will screen rides start to show their age a little bit more as we move forward? Like, will there be a moment where it's like, oh, we've gotten better definition. We've gotten better movement. We've gotten, because the real big thing with Spider-Man the ride is a similar thing that they do with Transformers, was the drop, right? Where Spider-Man kind of catches you with the web and then pulls you up and you feel like you're going up the side of a building. I remember that being mind-blowing. Like when I saw that, I was like, forget about Disney. Islands of Adventure, that's where it's at. This is a better theme park. I'm all on board.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I didn't feel that way post Transformers the ride.
When did you do Spider-Man last? I mean, that's an important
I
question.
did Spider-Man last. My kid is turning, I remember it very specifically, my kid is turning 6 this week. So I did it 6 years ago. Like I did it right after he was born. I happened to be down in Orlando and I had half a day and I bought that crazy pass so I could ride everything at Universal. I think at that point, Fast and Furious was not open as a singular ride, nor was The Tonight Show. So I've missed those two. So it was right before The Tonight Show opening up, about a week before, and before Fast and Furious. So I got to do everything else but.
So what's the date here? Is this before? Because do you know that Spider-Man had they did do like a CGI revamp. They made it. What is the changes? It's 4K. It's a little bit like
It's
elevated.
upgraded,
and
yeah.
Oh, okay.
There
All right,
has
so
been,
this
but I
is-
don't remember the year on that. Do you know, Jason? Does anybody know?
I'm going to look right now.
That
when
might
Jimmy
have been
Fallon ride
earlier
opened.
than you think. That might have been like 2012, 2014.
Okay. Yeah, I can't.
All right, so
yeah,
Jimmy
that's
Fallon ride
awkwardly-
opened in 2017.
hmm
Okay.
So I believe. Wait, so does that? Yeah, that works out. So it was before Jimmy Fallon. So I'm riding this before Tonight Show the ride.
I think it's 10 years ago that it was upgraded.
It's a little before. Okay. So
Okay.
this might
Okay.
be an issue that you're finding even beyond that, or that something is like
Yeah.
unsatisfying about the generic nature of that
It
Spider-Man.
could also
or-
be, and then look, I also put a lot up to it. Like I've never seen Dumb and Dumber again because I enjoyed it so much that I feel like if I saw it again, I wouldn't laugh as hard. So like there are certain elements where you build up something so much in your memory or I like it so much. You know, I feel like there's never like a real like first time again. And sometimes on these rides, like my first time on Rise of the Resistance, like if I could bottle that, like I'll never feel that way again on Rise.
Yes.
But the first time I rode that, it was like stunning and mind boggling. If I never rode it again, it would be, I mean, it still is epic in every single way, but that memory will never be like that memory is, I remember that. And that's the way I felt about Spider-Man. And then when I wrote it on again, I was like, okay, I see the seams.
Let me throw out a theory here about Spider-Man versus Transformers. And I don't actually know if this is true or not, but I believe you get, as a person who's in the ride vehicle, I believe you get your ass kicked a lot more on Transformers.
Yes.
I think you are getting just the shit kicked out of you the whole time on that ride. So I feel like once you go to Transformers and you go back on Spider-Man, if you're not enjoying the spider visuals and the Sinister Six, you are going to go, well, what's the deal? I'm used to a certain level of handling.
Well, this is what I'm talking about. It's not like the iPhone 8 was bad, but now when you have the iPhone
Right.
13, I'm used to some of the features there, and I'm going to be a little bit upset. It's not that the iPhone 8 was bad. It's just time has passed. And I can appreciate the iPhone 8
you know,
was
some
amazing
of us
when
are
you-
still rocking an iPhone 8, and some of us still like Spider-Man better. So, you know,
I have something to say about what Mike just said, and this might be key to where all our opinions land. Because if I haven't established, and why I was shitty 5 years ago is because I'm not the biggest fan of this ride. And Mike, what you just said, your ass getting kicked. I don't like that. I don't want
Okay.
that. I prefer a little smoother. And to me, the just like caustic bumping all around is not a virtue. It's not a good thing.
point of clarification. When you say you're getting your ass kicked, you're talking about real world getting jumbled around, getting bumped around, not storyline wise.
No, I'm talking
you don't
about
like
physically.
losing to the Decepticons. Okay.
No, you're getting the vehicle itself and the ride itself is shaking you and like vibrating you, and you're getting bumped around. And if you're really paying attention, your back is slamming into a hard piece of plastic over and over again, and it happens a lot more on Transformers, and I love it.
And now maybe we should just announce, and we don't have to move on from any arguments,
Yeah.
but we are deep into an episode, or a little too deep, without having said that Mike has, and this is part of why we need you, Paul, is that Mike has started to say a couple things. I mean, you've always been a huge proponent of this ride.
Yes.
But what it has morphed into recently is the possibility that Transformers the Ride is better than Rise of the Resistance.
I
Well,
haven't
this
said.
is I'm not again. I'm going to hold my tongue here. I want to hear some thoughts. I'm not going
Yes.
to come out with a gut
Yeah.
response to that. But that's interesting, and I did not know that.
Yeah.
Now, can I bring up one thing about Transformers as well?
Yeah, please.
Of course.
One of the things about Transformers to me that is so effective, and I've said this, and I'm sorry if I said this on your show before. It is my favorite Transformers film. Like
I don't
like-
think I don't think you're gonna find a disagreement there.
Okay. So so for me to go on a ride of a franchise that the feature film in which a feature film world that I hate, besides Bumblebee, which I thought was very good, where I go on it and then leave a fan of the franchise, that's also giving me bonus points.
Yeah.
Like that's also bringing it, like I have to equate that in like the, in when I'm weighing my opinion here, like I'm not going in loving it. Star Wars, I love. So it's going to be you have to do very little to make me fall more in love. I'm already there. I want to see these characters. I want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Transformers, I'm like, and I leave I'm like, wow.
I completely agree. I have barely seen 2 Transformers movies.
I've been forced one time for charity to watch a Transformers.
I have seen the first one, and this will date it. I mean, it's not that long after it came out, but I remember getting the DVD envelope in the mail from early days Netflix, or I guess not that early because it's like late 2000s, mid 2000s. I have wanted recently to not necessarily watch all of them, but watch the weirder ones later where like
Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins is in there talking about Transformers. There's some moment where like I always talk, I've heard about this, I've seen this clip, but like Stanley Tucci is some sort of weirdo scientist.
Tooch is loose in those
Tooch is
movies.
loose.
He's insane.
He's insane. At some point he's drinking a bag, a Chinese bag of milk, like a company from there. Like
Yes, weird forced product placement.
yeah,
right?
forced
Make it
product
work in
placement
China,
because
yeah.
these movies are huge in China. But yeah, I haven't seen it. And then I heard people going, the reaction to Bumblebee being like, it was pretty good. I was surprised. It was pretty good. That seemed like the vibe people said about Bumblebee.
Bumblebee to me is one of those rare films where it's not Michael Bay directed, and it's sort of just a coming of age story that happens to have a robot in it.
Yeah.
Like, so there are some things about it that you're like, oh, I like this story. I like this actress. John Cena's also in it. So it is. I just bought in. I like, and there are elements of the first Transformers when I rewatched it a little bit with, Shia LaBeouf. I'm like, okay, his parents are funny. There are elements. It's just, I never really connected to that franchise. I will say that, it seems to be so easy to make it, yet so hard, but yet the ride gives me the visceral thing that I want. So it's like, you've delivered the thing that I want to see in movies. Why is it so hard to make what I just experienced a movie? I don't know. Maybe the movie should only be 4 minutes. I don't know.
You have to get it, every Transformers movie has to be experienced in one of the 4D or the whatever. The D-box.
Which I'm all for. Now, I'm here to be a moderator, a mediator. I would love to hear, Mike, your opinion. Give me your top 3 reasoning. Your top 3 reasons of the Rise versus Transformers. I do want to I want to just dig into it because I want to make sure it's not just a bombastic opinion. Because I know you're very much like the Tucker Carlson of this show, just kind of spouting out stuff
because of the last name. For sure, that's a part of it.
Do we need to maybe go over the context a little of, and you guide it. This, Mike, this is your argument to make. But I think maybe one thing you don't know, Paul, is that Mike not only enjoys the ride, there is a deep well of emotion that has been discussed on the show many times that comes from the ending of the ride. Is this an appropriate time for you to explain that?
Oh, yeah.
Mike?
I mean, we have no structure here, so of course. What I realized when we were talking about Transformers once is that moments on rides that I really like, a perfect example of is the end with Optimus Prime. He explains, and I think I incorrectly said what it was. I think I said something along the lines of like, I'm proud of you or something.
In our heads for a long time.
That's the feeling that you leave with. Yeah, you leave like he's,
I'm very proud of you.
And he says, your bravery has, and
right,
there's a nice long, like heavy beat there for a theme park ride that's usually throwing stuff at you. You sit there, he really like takes his time to get down to your level, and he shoves his giant robot head, what feels like 2 feet away from you, and he delivers this speech, and it feels good to me. I really like it. And I would compare it to something like on Star Tours when, in the new version of Star Tours, when C-3PO kind of looks at everybody and says like, it looks like we've just joined the Rebel Alliance. And there's like a good heavy beat there. And you get to feel like emotion, which doesn't often happen on a theme park ride, which is bombarding you with stimuli. So I have now, after talking about this, I don't know what you would say, fetishized? I'm not sure exactly.
Well, it's become this phrase of the moment of intimacy has been haunting the show for a long time. And I'd maybe built it up in my head and not experienced it for a while. And because I think this came up during pandemic. So then pandemic's over-ish, and I finally get to go on it. So for the first time since this all came up. And I go on the ride, and what I see is like big robot, like leaning in weird, like, whoop. you're blah blah blah, and then you keep moving. I found it inexplicable that you would have emotion for this moment, that this somehow is to you. You think of this as like a watershed, like a heart song, if you will, in the history of rides.
It feels so long though compared to like the pace I'm used to on the ride. It feels long in my mind. I know it's probably 15 seconds.
That it is a little stretched out more, and we should say this is a longer ride. This is like over 4 minutes, which
that's true, yeah.
In theme park terminology, that's pretty long. But I get where Mike's coming from. Scott, I get where you're coming from, because one of my big criticisms with Transformers is that if you're talking about, Paul, you're talking about Spider-Man aging well. I feel like Transformers started aging well as soon as they it started aging as soon as they cut the ribbon. And maybe I just haven't ridden it at good times, but it feels like the footage has always been smeary and has, it's like when we saw like one of the Avengers movies and like this light bulb in the projector is burning out. I can't tell what's going on in some big
you know what
moments.
You know what doesn't help for me either, and this is an effect of the pandemic. One of the worst effects of the pandemic, you might say, is that going on this ride and masks do not mix, because you got glasses
that's
on.
hard, yeah.
It's crazy. It's jostly. It's already hard to make out what's going on.
That's the first time I experienced Spider-Man, the new ride, the one in California Adventure.
Yeah.
I experienced it that way, and I need to go back on because I feel like I did not. It was fine.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's where we've landed, admittedly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure if I hope you get past fine. Everybody should like everything, but
sure. That's the hope.
So
that's our greatest wish.
Coloring my perception a little, I did watch some ride-throughs from opening day where like the vlogger was clearly Universal gave them media elements where it's like, here's the footage not in 3D in full resolution.
Got it.
And it looks much better. It looks great. I mean, the Transformers have always looked a little CG, but in good shots, it kind of adds to their alienness or their unrealness. And that is a compliment I will pay them.
Well, let me ask you this, Paul. Do you, when Mike describes this moment, do you recall this moment? Does this resonate? Does the moment of intimacy land with you?
1,000%.
Wow.
1,000%. And you know why? Because as you started to describe it, it brought me back to that moment. It brought me back to that ending moment where I do believe, again, a character I don't care for, a character I have no emotional attachment to. It feels like it acknowledges the journey that we just had, right? We did just have a journey. We did. I don't know if I did anything, but I do like being thanked. I do like, I like that there's a nice moment there. And I think maybe what I'm experiencing also, and this sounds, now I'm going to maybe sound equally as silly, but the majesty of seeing this face up close, a true, like, what would it be like to look Optimus Prime in the eyes, right? So it's like, it is eye contact, which is the most
hard eye
contact.
contact.
Long eye contact. That's intimacy. Done.
Yes.
So we got that.
It's in the eyes.
But then it's also like, wow, this is a moment, just like soaring, where it's like I am taking in something I've never really experienced on this level. Wow. Like it's majesty, it's intimacy, and somebody said this to me the other day. We all like the gravy, which is, everyone likes a compliment, and this character is saying, because of us,
right,
we've succeeded. So we're getting 3 very large things that I think all in the pyramid of things that humans need. We're just not getting food, but everything else is attended to.
Perfect. I mean, a perfect way to describe it. Much better than I could have even said it. And like you think of other times, even rides I love, like Guardians of the Galaxy, Chris Pratt just goes, "Thanks everybody," and that's it.
That's it.
That's like so informal. He didn't get right up on top of you and like look you in the eye.
Dave Bautista kind of ribs you.
That's funny.
Kind
I
of
like
a blackout
that.
gag.
I think that's a
Yeah.
funny little joke he says at the end. Why are you thanking them? He goes, "They didn't do anything." That's funny.
That is funny, yeah.
But once in a while.
No, that's a fling. This is love.
This is a
Transformer
love.
scene is love.
Yeah, it kind of is. It kind of is.
Why don't I feel what either of you are feeling? I don't get it at all.
I think you're upset by the ride. I think you've been beaten up, and you don't like the feeling of getting beaten up. So you're sort of zoned out. Maybe you're zoned out, and you're not locked in, or maybe
it's maybe lost me to where it's not going to win me back with that moment.
Or your heart isn't open.
I figured I was putting myself up for that. That the only other conclusion would be that it's an emotional
it's a blockage, emotional blockage.
That I'm closed off.
Jason's blocked too, though, if this is the case.
I am a little blocked, but in my defense, it's more like I honestly forgot the DMs. Sometimes I forget the moment of intimacy discussion. Like I get so into reading about the ride and watching videos in history, I forget our own lore.
Jason, you're about the research. We know this.
Yes.
You're about the research.
Too analytical.
I'm a book idiot, and so I
just read so many books.
I
That's
forget.
the issue. All the I wish I could see over all the books in my house.
No, Scott, I buy books. I'm slow at reading books, but I buy them. And
I'm right with you.
They haunt me. So basically what I'm saying is sometimes I'm Mr. Magooing my way through the podcast where I'm like a Mack truck is speeding by me and I'm just like going about my day. Like, nice weather we're having, you know.
Well, has it gotten you there? Did like the magical? I was very enamored with the descriptions that both Mike and Paul gave. Does that help? Are you now feeling the moment of intimacy?
So would you say it's comparable to when Spider-Man gets on the hood of the vehicle and you're like staring this guy you love in the face? He's your best friend.
It's not even close to Spider-Man.
It's not even close to me. I don't even like Spider-Man.
But I'm saying it's close. I'm saying it's close in the same.
It's getting
the
closer.
Same idea that you're recognizing the idea. I'm saying when you look at Spider-Man in the eyes, so he's very close to you on that ride. He's not quite as close as Optimus is, though.
No, Optimus gets a little in your zone.
Pushes. He's in your comfort zone. He pushes past like your.
Well, let me like throw one thing at you. Like I believe the Spider-Man, and this is going to be a very. I mean, I know I'm opening myself up for a lot of criticism here, but the Spider-Man in the Spider-Man ride, the old one, is of the cartoon variety, right? It is of the Fox animation style. It is, and I granted, Optimus Prime is also CGI, but there is an intimacy. You know, we talk about the uncanny valley. I think that Optimus Prime actually is not that, and I think that maybe Spider-Man, you are maybe having that thing where I don't know if I can connect to a cartoon like that, but I can connect to this
mask
computer
with no facial feed. The difficulties of masks is not just that it makes rides worse; it's that you don't understand the emotion on Spider-Man's face.
Yeah, Peter really should reveal himself to you at the end of the ride. You should say, by the way,
but they can't.
Right, pulls the thing up, and then he gets in everyone's face and says, "Thank you, I love you."
Mwah, mwah. Two kisses,
he
one
gives
on each
you a little
cheek.
kiss, an Italian-style kiss.
Sure.
And then, moves on. That would be more. That would be closer.
I am. As we're talking, I'm taking a look here at the 4K ride through of Spider-Man.
It's a little
and I just
more not timeless, but a little less glued to any one thing. And the way that the videos in the line are kind of in the style of the Fox cartoon, which is probably the Spider-Man iteration that made the biggest impression on me as a child.
Of course.
Probably still how I hear the voice in my head, even more so than the movies. So yeah, my view is colored by that fact.
And look, and by the way, yes, but it's still a cartoon, and there's something about it, and I notice again, it's the difference to me of I enjoy Monsters Inc. the ride probably more than Men in Black the ride, because Men in Black the ride, they're cartooning humans, whereas the Monsters Inc. ride, but it's the same kind of ride that you're kind of experiencing. Like these things are popping out, and you're going through this little town square. I mean, I guess you're shooting at one of those things, but I don't know. There's I don't know. I think Spider-Man is. He's hanging down in front of you at the end. He's looking at you. Sure, he's muscular. But he's not. There's no moment there. It's a shushed off moment.
Let me throw this out there. Spider-Man on the hood. Again, he's not as close as he should be. He's not revealing his human face to you. But also, he's like a guy you know and you're friendly with, and it's great to see him.
Right. Of course he's going to thank you.
Of course he's going to thank you, and he's going to be casual because he's your buddy, and he's going to see you next week, okay? Optimus Prime, it's basically like God is telling you did a great job. His voice is
Amen.
that deep.
Amen. This is as close as you can get to, I mean, I'm going to be like, yeah, God, royalty. This is a bigger deal.
Peter Cullen's voice is the greatest, deepest voice you would imagine that the father, what they call him, the father, right? That's what he would sound like. He would have, yes, his head would be giant and perhaps look blue and robotic.
Can I say this? This is going to be heresy to some people. I think all these voice actors are amazing, and of course they absolutely are. Peter Cullen's great. It's Frank Welker on the ride as Megatron. And it's great voices and great performances. But this is one thing I realized that is holding me back from loving this ride. There's a lot of confusion on my end about various things, and I didn't grow up with this. I don't know the difference between Autobots and Decepticons. I do now because I stared at it. I figured it out.
Right.
But the ride doesn't really help me. It's just I don't know which one's good and which one's bad. And one thing that doesn't help me is that Optimus Prime is like, I'm Optimus Prime. And Megatron is like, I'm Megatron. Like we're like 7 degrees apart, right? Like these are not, the one is good, one's the epitome of good, one's the epitome of evil. But they
You're saying
don't.
the voices sound too similar?
I think so, and mainly just visually. I was thinking it would help me if the characters would. If they would wear like jerseys, I think they need jerseys. So that
Like
I know
you
who's
want a
good
little
and who's
patch,
bad.
maybe pretend like a little the red patches mean that they're bad guys. Blue patches, they're good guys.
Yes,
Like a little-
something like
you wanna-
lightsabers. Yes, a color coordination, because there's long sections of this ride where I don't know who's good and who's bad, and maybe that's good. Maybe you would consider that like a cinematic gray area.
Well, sure. I was going to say, is not Macduff that far removed from Macbeth? Is Iago that different from Othello? You know?
It's
wow.
all
Now we're
you and
talking
your
about it.
books.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Mr.
Back
Books
to your
is back.
books.
I couldn't disagree more. Megatron gray, Optimus blue and red. He stands much more heroic. Megatron is kind of hunched.
I get him in the cartoon more, but in the filmic depiction, it's all just like metal to me. It's all just gears and metal.
Yes, and so I agree with you. I'm not looking for a hardcore story. I just need to understand we're against this person, they're against that one. Like I agree at the root of your issue, but I'm not debating whether or not Transformers makes any sense more than do I understand what's going on in the ride? And in the ride, I certainly do.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. I don't. Why am I not? Again, is this another case where my heart is not? And also, do I have an ally in Jason? Do you understand what's happening in this
Well,
ride?
I do understand what's happening, and I'm going to credit that to the original ride character Evac, who
Oh,
is
yes.
has a little more personality than the other characters.
Okay.
Who's a little more.
It's a little more of a human.
He's a little more human. Yeah,
voice.
he's competent, but he's in a little over his head, and he's got to do some crazy stuff to like survive this in the way that like. I didn't really connect with Wheelie until I saw the ride video and realized it was Tom Kenny doing it. You know, I didn't have to do extra research about why should I be scared of Starscream. Well, Starscream turns into a jet. That's kind of obvious why you'd be scared of him.
He's awesome.
He doesn't turn into a pickup truck. He turns into a fucking fighter pilot.
Yeah, he's
fighter
cool.
plane.
At the end, he goes shoots off. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
But this is another one of my things. Like I was trying to do the math. Okay, I was trying to get him straight. Sideswipe is good, but Starscream is bad.
Yes.
Ratchet is good,
Yeah.
but Ravage is bad.
I'll admit this. I get Megatron and Starscream confused.
Okay, yeah.
I do get some of the Decepticons confused because they're all fairly gray.
I'm hearing these names, and I'm ultimately like dropping out. I don't know, and only because I'm like I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's like
I didn't.
it's like-
I don't until I started
Yeah.
jotting down off of Wikipedia. I had no clue what any of this was.
and that to me is again the problem with the movie and everything like that. Like I it's it's just fighting robots, right? And some of them are, one looks like a jet, the other one looks like a helicopter, one looks like an ambulance, one is a Corvette. I don't know. I all I know is that I got a job to do. And I'm gonna be there. But
So
now,
not worry,
I
you
guess-
don't get caught up in the details. Maybe I'm trying to figure it out too much, and I should just go along for the ride.
Well, I'm so glad because this is where I was going to segue to, which is we're talking about two different experiences, right? I can say to you, I love Fast and Furious, right? I think that is a great film. I also love Jackie Brown, right? Jackie Brown is a great film. They're very different films. I don't watch Jackie Brown when I want to see Fast and Furious and vice versa. And I believe we got to treat these rides. So I'm going back to Rise of the Resistance. Rise of the Resistance is not a thrill ride like Transformers. I would even argue you can't even put them on the same level because we don't have glasses. We're not in 3D. We're in a much more built up world. This is a three-dimensional. There's so much going on in that. I almost feel like the comparison of the two is like, it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, I'm hard pressed to even think of an insulting comparison. Mac and me and ET. It's like let's so in my mind, they're two very different experiences. So I go on Transformers not expecting to follow a plot. I'm just like, get me from one place to the next. I'm falling, I'm flying, and I'm driving. I'm going slow, I'm going high, I'm going low. And Rise, I'm like, let me take this in. What am I supposed to be feeling? What are the story points? What are the emotions? Now, where I think, what Mike is saying is very valid.
Yes,
Transformers tries to have a cake and eat it too, which is at the end, they go, oh, and by the way, this is actually an emotional ride. You were supposed to care about this. and we're going to send you on your way. And you're like, oh, I do feel love. So they're leaving you at that moment like, hey, who cares if the rest of the movie was good? At the end, we told you, we gave you something and you're going to latch onto that. You're going to walk out the door happy. So I think that, Transformers is very smart in trying to do that. It's not like The Mummy. The Mummy straight up thrill ride. Mummy, it's like, woo, 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 woo. You fly in and out. Is there a story? I don't know. Barely. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say is I think that they're two different rides. So I almost find Mike's idea insulting if you compare them.
Well, that's fair. I mean, I would say that the great Roger Ebert would say about films that you have to judge a film based on what the people were trying to do and if they achieved what the goal was. And when I talk about Transformers versus Rise of the Resistance, I'm thinking about, did they accomplish what they are trying to do, what they're showing me? And also, did they provide me the feeling I would get that I would want from seeing the movie? Is it the ultimate version of it? And I would say like an Indiana Jones is almost the ultimate version of Indiana Jones.
Sure.
I buy that.
Yes, pretty indisputably.
I agree with everything that you said.
And Transformers is the ultimate. I mean, look, we're talking about it now, so I may as well just I have some slides I've prepared as well.
All right, I'm very excited about this.
All right.
So, Brett, if you would put up the slide 1, please. So when I'm talking about that, obviously I know they're two different ride systems. One is actually obviously like almost a decade newer. This is
Let's describe some things for the just listeners, but go to the Forever Dog YouTube if you want to see it. Is Transformers better than Rise of the Resistance? And there's the statue, the Thinker.
The Thinker is on in the first slide.
Pondering the great questions of man.
Exactly. So if we're just judging, technological advancement or whatever, that's out the window. I'm really assessing as a person who's seen some Transformers and has seen a lot of Star Wars. Did these two things, which one accomplishes the mission more? Then again, I haven't said definitively what I believe. This is why the Thinker's up here. So we're talking
You're
through
just
it.
asking questions.
I'm just asking, like a Tucker Carlson type. I'm just asking questions.
Just putting it out there. Some people have said.
Some people are saying.
You should try to do the face throughout this, the flustered, like, so is it better?
Is it? By the way, I think that what you're saying, I just want, before we even go forward, I want to say that I'm excited for this. I'm going to look at this with a very open mind.
Perfect.
Okay, great.
Perfect. We've been in the trenches too much. That's why we needed you,
Right.
Paul.
Okay.
We're all sick. We're annoyed with each other. We're sweating out in the garage hour after hour. Paul can help clarify.
Right. So basically my mission statement I've kind of already said, but yeah, I'm judging these two, do they accomplish what they have set out to accomplish? And do I feel satisfied by do I feel satisfied in my experience of experiencing the movie, the franchise, the IP? All right, so let's go to slide 2, please. Okay, first of all, let's talk characters.
Oh boy.
Here. Now,
Oh boy.
Rise of the Resistance is a much longer ride, and a much more detailed, much more varied experience. Because obviously there's multiple pre-shows, the queue is very long. But I would say that when you look at the number of characters that appear in Rise of the Resistance, there are a lot less than on Transformers.
Now, Michael, please read some of these slides for our folks.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So
some of the great characters.
I didn't say great.
Meet.
I didn't say great. Never did I say
Don't put
great.
words in his mouth.
All
Don't
right,
put.
all right,
I'm
I'll
listening
back off.
to.
Trans-
I'm listening to someone who, at this point, does not seem insane. At this point,
Right now.
Even though the thought to me is an insane comparison.
But no, I'm the insane one for putting great.
I'm
for,
not
for
saying-
thinking that great might
Never said
factor
great.
in.
Never
Now,
said great.
well, again, we know at this point that you have a hard time parsing out what people are saying and what they mean.
Yeah,
so
that's
you
true.
put words in people's mouths.
I
So,
gotta
yeah,
back
so-
off. I gotta back off.
Media Matters is going to put a Scott Gardner page up and go to task if he adds a word to some sentence I'm trying to say.
Well, also, I mean, there's going to be a Mike Carlson part of that too, because you have clearly not ranked important. Like General Morshower
No, I
is
have
very
not.
low on your list compared to Evac and Optimus Prime. Obviously, they're going to be first, but I feel like
This is
General
not-
Morshower should get a little more credit.
This is not a ranked list, and I'll read
Okay.
it real quick. Transformers side, we have Evac, Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Sideswipe, Megatron, Bone Cruncher, Ironhide, Wheelie, Ratchet, Ravage, Starscream, Grinder, Sideways, General Morshower, and Theodore Stallworth, who of course is in the pre-show and explains what's going on.
Yeah, now Grindor, of course, he's only in the ride for a second because he looks at his big robot phone and he goes, I'm sorry, I gotta go. Actually, someone just messaged me.
He is the app grinder come to life,
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
Yeah.
He is the hookup app grinder. And on Rise, we have Finn, Rey, Poe, BB-8, Hux, General Hux, Kylo Ren, Lieutenant Beck, Nine Numb, and some stormtroopers. And it's like
a good number of stormtroopers.
a good number of stormtroopers that are all mannequins. They're all static.
No, a couple of them
the
wiggle
screen
in the
one- screen
room.
one-
Couple
couple
of them
screens.
wiggle.
So, but
Yeah.
so okay. There's a lot more characters already with Transformers. Star Wars. I'm trying to take my bias out about this being the newer 3 and not anything even against the newer 3. I obviously would like all 9 movies to be represented, but that's not even what I'm talking about. I feel these characters, once you even get out of the queue, once you get out of Beck's ship, you don't see them a lot. You see some Kylo, you see a lot of, but they're not as prevalent in the experience as Transformers, which constantly has a giant robot in your face. You're constantly interacting with them.
Did you count the character that is on your car? Talk about intimacy.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
There we go.
I'm sorry.
I'm talking. I'm saying it. There is a character in your
writing down
car,
some
and that's
notes here.
intimacy.
That's true. Well, he's like Eve. I mean, look, is it a ripoff of Evac? A little bit. Just a little bit.
Take
Evac
media
is already
straight
there.
to media matters with you. All right,
Fair
continue
enough.
this
Okay,
charade.
let's go to slide 3. I think it's slide 3. So what happens on Rise? Okay, you walk through the dirty line. You chat with Rey and BB-8. You walk outside into the elements. Lieutenant Beck's ship part. You see his smiling face. You see all the stormtroopers. They're all mannequins. They're all standing there. It's kind of
You
cool.
see so many.
There's
The
like
sheer
20.
volume
Okay.
of
There's 20 mannequins.
What I'd like to offer up, Mike, I believe that if you are presenting this argument,
Yeah.
you cannot be presenting bias. Like you are the
Okay.
great
All right,
thinker,
you're right, you're right.
You're not walking into a room of mannequins. You're walking into an impressive
All right, you're
loading
right.
dock.
Yeah.
many stormtroopers and one of the biggest screens you've ever seen. We
You're
don't
right,
make
you're
tend
right.
to think screens are a virtue,
Yes.
but that vista into space is so
It's a good
grand.
screen,
It's
yeah.
a jaw dropper.
All right,
And
a little.
I saw your
yeah.
jaw. We were all 4 of us were
We
there. We
liked-
saw the jaw.
I will say this: Lieutenant Beck part is my favorite part of the whole ride.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing Lieutenant Beck getting up close, getting up in his face is what I like. And you saw me probably do it at the time.
You mean to a real figure that you're in a room with?
Well, I said that's my favorite part. I agree that he is in there, but that's not even the main part of the ride. Okay. So then you wait in the line a while. There's more line. You crane your neck to see Hux and Kylo.
I didn't see you wrote rip-off.
This is a very, like if I'm here, I watch a lot of court TV. I would say objection, Your Honor. This is I would say something more legal, but I would say at this point you're creating a false narrative.
Okay,
You're purposefully presenting negative versions of this. This is, if you want to present the facts, but you cannot be painting it with any sort of any sort of brush, because I feel like so far you're losing me on this argument.
Paul, which part got you? Because I'm sorry, I stopped to point out that you wrote Evac ripoff in the text. What was Paul? What were you red flagging specifically?
Craning your neck to see, like
there's no issue to the.
They're like you gotta go. It's like
the high screens on the Transformer ride, which are sometimes your vision is blocked by the severe side of the vehicle that you are often pressed up right against.
Well, I always go front row, so I've never actually experienced that.
Well, Mike, I'm gonna say the ride, the Evac style vehicle, that doesn't bump for me. That doesn't rub me the wrong way, but I'm not seeing you mention that Rise of the Resistance involves an elevator segment. Transformers also involves secret elevator segment, and the one of the guys overseeing the Star Wars stuff, Scott Trowbridge, was involved in the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man. So
he's an elevator man.
Yeah, he's an elevator man.
That's a side. Well, I'll save it. I have thoughts about the elevator.
I'll finish reading this, and I will take any bias. I will rephrase everything to make it sound.
I think you need to come in with your plan. I think you have. Paul can flag it when he feels the need.
All right.
Give us your set. Give us your Type 5.
Yeah.
Pretend you're at the belly room, giving your Type 5 at midnight.
Okay. Yeah. So the ride the Evac ripoff vehicle and on that dirty floor that has all the lines on it from the other
there's a hole in the wall and it opens. Yes, that is technically what happens.
I am not going to stop it at every point.
Okay.
I will stop it when I feel like it's egregious.
Okay. At that point, two stormtroopers see you, and you hear them shoot at you for a little while. Which is scary.
What do you mean? There's holes in the wall.
There's a light or two, but they shoot at you.
Walls that you don't know are screens that become screens.
Is it that point? I think that's later.
It's more than meets the eye.
You are losing your audience. You're losing your audience. Like, here's what I would say, right?
Okay, go ahead.
You can, I'm trying to help you present because you can't look at us and say one of the most impressive new rides of all time from a technological storytelling perspective is this like you're treating it like they got this junky thing. Now if you're talking about Smuggler's Run, I could say maybe it's a little bit more, the actual ride doesn't really have that much, but there's got a lot of you cannot shit on literally the world building and the ride itself is top notch. It is top notch. It may not give you the same experience, but you are really ripping this ride as if you're opened up. Like it's like, you remember when you get like those Sonic pops, like from an ice cream truck, and the image of the Sonic pop is so amazing. Oh, I can't wait to eat this Sonic pop. And you open it up and it's like a melted Sonic or a melted Donatello. Like that's how you're describing this ride. Like it's always the melted. It's never achieved. Then you can't do that with this
Okay.
one.
All right. Well, okay. So then you go by, you squint and you can see Finn robot, and he's like 25 feet away. Because he's really hard. You got to pull the guy next to you.
He is kind of wedged in there, and you really only
hidden. It's a fun little. All right, I'll stay. Okay.
We're almost done.
It's supposed to be wedged. It's a.
He's hiding. If he was out in the open, he'd get shot. He'd get blasted to pieces.
It is a cost-cutting statue.
We're almost done. It is a statue.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you
How many animatronics are in Transformers? Go. Everyone say the amount.
Well, it did cost $100 million versus the $500 million it took to build.
Jason's still wedging
Rise
the
of the
facts in. There's
Resistance. He
panic
loves the
setting
facts.
over you. What if I don't get the facts?
Look, we all have our little things we like, you know.
He gets shot. Okay, you get shot at by the AT&T if you're lucky. If not, there's another. You get shot kind of again, but you want to get shot by that AT-AT. Excuse me. Then Kylo, I misspelled it as Kyle.
Kyle
kind of chases you, and that's cool. I mean, you see the bridge, you see the robot. There is a robot of Hux and Kyle there. And then
Wow, that's Kyle. That looks exactly like Kyle.
and then
Like
you get to the
Kyle.
big gun room, and I will say this: I love the big gun room.
Big
I'm
gun
a
room is
huge fan of the
very
big gun
impressive.
room. My
Great.
second favorite part of the ride, other than the Lieutenant Beck stuff, the
Now,
big
can I
gun
talk
part,
to you
awesome.
about like this is the moment where you can shit on Rise. And you go, gun room, while impressive, seemingly is the part of the ride that never works and always breaks down.
That's
and
true.
breaks the entire thing. Like that gun room is.
Is that it?
the
Is that why it closes so often?
Yeah,
I don't
that,
think I
that
knew
gun
that.
room is
Mm-hmm.
the gun room is the source of all issues in
Yeah,
Rise, from what I understand.
I believe there's a story about like when they were first testing that room, one of the guns was a little off and hit the wall and shook the building. That's how strong those guns are.
Yeah.
I will say this in your defense, and to your point. You're talking about fulfilling the intention of the people who made the ride. If
Yeah.
the intention was for Rise of the Resistance to be open a lot,
Uh-huh.
they have not necessarily
That's true.
made good on that intention.
That's true. So yeah, the big gun part is awesome. And that point, you got battle damage on the wall, which I do like. And then you see Kyle again, the Kyle robot, and he gets blown up, and that's cool. Hopefully that's working. Also, that's another issue, I think. But luckily they have the fix, which is the screens,
Well, that's very
which is a good, smart thing to do.
that scene shares a little with the Transformers ride in that it's kind of hard to tell what the fuck is going on.
Kind of a nod. It's a
It's
rip
kind of
off.
a nod.
It's a
It's
nod,
kind of
yeah.
a nod. A mode or B mode. It's smeary.
Yeah, that's true. So then you go and you get in the little pod, and it's the screen part where you're flying down, and then you go outside, which is cool, and you see Beck again, who's my guy. And then it's impressive that you're outside. We've talked about this before. It's impressive that you're outside and the
You're
thing goes
delivered
in.
right to the pinpoint accuracy to your gate.
Yeah.
Where you step off in awe. All four people in this
Right.
discussion in awe of what they just experienced.
100%. Now, I will say this: I'm going to go out on. I've heard your argument. I'm not going to jump in right yet because we may have
Okay.
more to say. But I'm going to say this: if we are just talking about what ride works the best, I will say hands down, Transformers, day and night. There is no comparison. Transformers is a better functioning
Yeah.
ride. As I have been on Rise of the Resistance probably 5 or 6 times, and easily 3 or 4 of those times it has shut down in the middle of the ride.
Yeah. So
I'll say this too. If in terms of, I've been to Disneyland a lot of times since the ride opened, and there are a lot of days, most days I would say, where I don't feel like doing the hassle of getting on that ride, of maybe losing a bunch of time to waiting in a line where then it gets shut down, and that, like, there are downsides to deciding today is a Rise of the Resistance.
Yes.
I'll give you that.
I went to Florida and I had the same issue. We got on, we got in there, we did the whole thing, and it died midway through.
Yeah, I was down in Florida last fall with my family. Tried multiple times. They had just stopped the week before we were there. They just stopped the virtual queue. So we got there at early park opening, went to get in line, ride shut down. Another day, tried to buy the $15 whatever Genie Plus add-on. Too many people doing it at 7 a.m. Freaking out.
Yeah.
Put it in the cart, went to check out, gone from the cart. Error messages. So my girlfriend and I have ridden it. My dad and brother, who do not live next to a Disney park, didn't get to it. So,
yeah.
That's rough.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Look, I'll drop 50% of the cave. I'll drop 50% of the kayfabe real quick here. If we're also talking about, this is the ultimate Star Wars ride. This is how it was always presented, and that's no bullshit. That's how it was like. This is the ultimate number one thing, Star Wars ride. You're going to get to experience Star Wars. And it's like the queue, I feel like, builds you up perfectly. You get exactly sort of that experience that you would want. But I do, and I've said this before on the ride, on podcast The Ride, I've said that I feel like the big
And where
trick,
can I listen to that show?
it's on things.
All right, good.
Wherever you get your podcast.
Yeah.
The Forever Dog Network?
Forever Dog.
Forever Dog.
Is that the big trick of the ride is scope. And that's kind of it. As far as like, if you're actually under siege, you're getting shot at by stormtroopers, you're not getting sort of the visceral thrills that you're getting on Indiana Jones because of the ride vehicle. The ride vehicle is very smooth. So I kind of feel like if you were going to do a thing where you explore a big Star Destroyer, I do want more character stuff. If I'm not going to get jostled by blasts, if I'm not going to get attacked by probe droids, or if like stuff is not going to happen to me like on Indiana Jones where you're constantly like your body is in terror.
First of all, I disagree with it. I've talked to so many people about Indiana Jones. And now I don't know about you guys, I've never stared into the eye on the Indiana Jones ride.
Really?
I've had a normal
Wow.
ride. I've had a very normal ride through caves.
Oh,
I
it's just
feel like
regular.
People are talking about a much more intense experience. We've always gone through the right door. You guys have not had that experience? You guys have,
It's a
you're telling me you
totally,
haven't
yeah,
stared in the
no,
eye?
it's the lights are off and there's
Very
lasers.
smooth. Yeah,
Yeah,
you've,
very smooth ride.
you've done the
Almost
Jurassic-
boring in a way. Yeah,
You've done the
I'm a good
Jurassic
boy. I
Park.
like you guys. Yeah, I'm
Wow,
a good
that's
boy.
crazy.
But here's what I'll say about the Star Wars experience. Right, if we're gonna, without getting into a larger Star Wars conversation, feel free to dispute this. But I'm just saying, like, I don't need to break down the prequels and all that bullshit. But the idea of Star Wars ultimately, on some level, is you get sucked up, you get trapped, you gotta get out, right? Like that's like that is Star Wars 1, like that is Star Wars number 1 in the prequels, that is Star Wars number 1 in the sequels, like right, and that's what it gives you. It gives you the generic. Yes, Kyle is there, but it gives you a pretty generic idea. Like if you want it to be the Death Star, it's the Death Star. You get brought in. We see familiar characters from a bunch of different worlds, but it doesn't set itself in like a time frame. It's not like, okay, this is post Rise. This it could. I think it can be enjoyed ultimately as an evergreen experience for the most part. Yes, Rey is there. Yes, Kylo Ren is there. But the experience, the ride that you're getting is the most Star Wars type of experience, which is we all want to go to the Death Star. We want to be captured by stormtroopers. We're getting all that. We don't have Darth Vader. Would it be better with Darth Vader? Yeah, sure. But, but at the same time, what Darth Vader and Kylo Ren are giving me, if you change the mask, it would be the same ride, ultimately.
It is missing a central component of Star Wars, which is British character actors from the ages of very young to very, very old.
Yes,
The
yeah,
ride
that is true.
could use some very old. I mean, I'd love an old CG Grand Moff Tarkin, deepfake Grand Moff Tarkin like Rogue One.
I would love that. I mean,
Yeah.
we can do it. We can build it.
We want to do it. But yeah, so like, I guess really if I was plussing that ride up after I've been on it a couple times, it's like, then I would go, okay, you go into a little room, and like Rey's there and she summons an old Jedi master, and it's like Yoda or it's Luke. Like, I feel like it's missing some of this warmth that I want to feel. It's missing some of the intimacy. I know it's about scope. So if it's just because there's limitations on the vehicle and we're not going to get a crazy sort of like a fight or flight response that our bodies give you on Transformers, I do want a couple scenes where I feel the different feelings of Star Wars, not just sort of the scope of being on a Star Destroyer. And it can be with Rey. It can be with the other ones, Finn and Poe. It could be any of those characters. It doesn't need to be with my guys. It doesn't need to be with Dexter Jetster, even though, of course, I would like that the best.
Of course you would.
Do you want Han to say "I know" to you?
Do I want to kiss Han and have him say, I'll say I love you? And he says, no, yes, I do want that. But yeah, so I guess that's really what I feel. It's only kind of giving you one slice of Star Wars on the actual ride. I'm not getting emotional. I swear my voice just cracked. Just giving you one slice of Star Wars on the actual ride, and you're missing a lot of the other stuff that I like from Star Wars that you could have put in there because the ride is not a direct thrill ride. I feel like you could have put in more moments of warmth and intimacy, the things that I like from Star Wars, the training or calling upon the history of the Jedi. That's what I'm saying.
Well, first of all, I'm going to say this now too. I think, and I'm sorry that I'm saying I should. I'll shut up.
No,
but I'm
no,
gonna
go
say,
ahead.
No,
I,
do not.
I believe that the idea of Galaxy's Edge, right? This outpost is that every experience, when put together, would give you the whole of the Star Wars experience, right? So Smuggler's Run is very specific. It's very different than Rise. I believe that there are other you can build a droid, you can build a lightsaber, like, so all in all, this is not a world in which we're getting 3 pirates, right? Well, like in the past we've had one ride, right? One ride, and that ride kind of has to encompass everything. Here, like Transformers, one ride has to encompass everything. This has the ability to be like, this is just yet one flavor, because part of your job in the Star Wars universe might just be being captured. One might be building a lightsaber. One might be building a droid. One might be running getting some mining equipment back, whatever it is. So I think that there is that element to it that I think you can't fault. I think that's by design.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I agree with what you're saying. It is though, like, I mean, maybe it's just because like I heard they're canceling maybe the Galaxy's Edge in Paris. There's a rumor of that happening.
Oh.
So part of me feels like this was the shot at the $500 million Star Wars ride. And don't get me wrong, it is obviously really great. I still haven't decided if I think it's better or worse than Transformers, but obviously it's really great. It's really impressive. I like a lot of it.
Mr. Carlson, I'd like to hear some of your arguments in favor of
Well,
this
we're going to get there,
Transformers
right? One
business.
second after I finish this. But now I feel like maybe this was it. This was the shot we had. And I feel like
only 99% of the audience likes it.
well, that's
They really blew it with that one.
I'm just saying, I think I make some valid points, and obviously it's a great ride, but if it's the be-all, end-all Star Wars ride, I feel like there's some
Take away
things I would
Star
approve.
Wars. Take away Star Wars
yes.
and just say,
I wish.
is it one of them?
If only.
Is it, because I do believe this to be true, I believe it is one of the best rides. Like, just from
Yes.
a technological. Just
I didn't say it. I didn't say it wasn't. I didn't say it wasn't.
What these little things you pull? I don't know. I
Well,
wash my hands.
Follow the
Look,
tape.
me, oh
Follow-
my.
Look at the tape. Look at the
What
tape. I
are
never said it.
Whatever this is so annoying to me.
I know.
Read the transcripts.
That's part of the show. I do
Well,
this
but
on
I-
the
but
show
what I'm
to get a
saying
rise.
is you can't.
A rise
your-
of
my
resistance.
little
Rise.
hands.
Yeah.
Your issue is, while it is one of the best rides ever,
Yes.
it is not fulfilling the promise of Star Wars.
Yes.
So hence, Transformers,
Might be.
because it's fulfilling the promise of Transformers.
Yes.
Yes, because the bar
Completely.
is so low it's on the floor, you could just step over it.
Maybe you've never seen the bar. Maybe you didn't know the bar existed, or just never had interest in
Right.
looking at the bar.
Right. Yes,
like,
exactly.
And to give you like one, I'll give you like a piece of my like where I fall on the other side. The mistake was, I think, not of being so hard and fast with no Darth Vader, no Chewbacca, no, these rules that they made for Galaxy's Edge. I thought was actually a very dumb move, and they've now retconned that a little bit. And I think some of these rides suffer from living in this world of post Vader, post Han. Like, that's probably the biggest era of Star Wars land, like in my mind.
It did, and it did no favors to the ride. I think when we saw leaked art of the original crazy e-ticket they were going to build in Tomorrowland of Star Wars, which had like a Dagobah swamp scene, and then there was a Death Star scene. Like, it felt like, okay, that's like the greatest hits Star Wars ride, and then you start to go.
Is that just the Avatar boat ride?
Could be. That's
sure.
something you saw as an adult.
Yeah.
That was never close to getting built.
Right,
40 years ago.
But the vibe was, oh, that is the ultimate ride. That is the ultimate Star Wars ride.
I guess so.
That's what I'm
you.
saying.
For
Well,
you,
me,
there.
sure.
That's
Sure.
interesting. Yes.
Sure.
There was also the hypothetical plans before Disney bought Star Wars where it's like, okay, there's going to be a desert section. There's going to be a Hoth section. And like when they were going to try to cram it into Tomorrowland at Disneyland, it's like, all right, we're going to plant a bunch of trees here and have a high-speed speeder bike chase as if you're on Endor.
Right.
That'd be cool.
And they'll
Yes.
put the Falcon above the land, and you can walk through it. you
Right.
know.
Let me say this before we get to, and we'll get to the next slide. Since I suspect that it's possible to me that it could be full of nonsense. So let me say a real argument in this dry delineation of Rise of the Resistance, and I'm going to go back to what Paul said and take Star Wars out of it. It is a ride where there's a ride in the line. There's like tons of steps to it, and
Yes.
like role playing with the cast members and all this stuff. And then what you say as screen ride part is where your trackless vehicle drives itself into a simulator, which performs a drop. Now, here's a real argument that I wanted to make to you, because I did Transformers the other day, and I hear your point about like you get maybe more visceral movements and thrills and stuff out of Transformers. I maybe can't argue with that. But in terms of, I think you're underrating the rise up to the level of the AT-ATs and then the drop at the end. I genuinely don't think, and I think if you were somehow able to do them one after the other, I genuinely don't think that there's a single thrill in Transformers as big as the drop towards the end. I really do believe that for me, because I know there's elevator and you go up in that, but it's not as good as Spider-Man, I don't think, in terms of a big drop at the end. For me, that's my. I think you can't discount. I think you're underrating. There's not a lot of thrills, but you're underrating a little bit of thrills on that.
Here's
ride.
how I feel about it too. Like and look, it's very easy to kind of figure out how all these things are done if you want. I treat Rise like a magic trick that I don't want revealed. I don't want to know. I'm sure I could really overly think about it and discover it, but I truly feel, and even when it's broken down, a sense of awe. Like there are awe-inspiring moments in that ride that Transformers simply does not have, that no ride before Rise has had, ultimately, in my opinion.
The scope, yeah, that's what I was saying before. The scope of Rise, yes, is probably there's no other comparison to anything that has sort of that
physical environment. Yeah, like,
right.
holy shit.
I mean, I
they
guess
pulled this
India,
up.
when you come in the temple, that's a pretty.
There's a few of them, you feel like, you know?
Like Indy is an upgrade of Haunted Mansion on some level, right? Like I'm just saying, like in a very bare bones scenario, like you switch it out. Indy is Dinosaur, which was already at Animal Kingdom, or I guess
No, it was the opposite.
That's
Oh,
the
right,
other way.
yeah.
Yes. But whatever. It's like it is just a track ride that you're going through. It's cool. It's big. It's Indy, but I don't get anything from Indiana Jones on that ride. I don't feel like all the fun of Indiana Jones. It's fun. I don't get a person. I mean, obviously, there's no personality because it's not Harrison Ford, and the guy does his voice. He's like, "Get out of here!" You know, it's like it's just it's a huff and a gruff, and you know, you get more from what's his face from Sala. You know, but it's but
for
that's
sure.
pre-show. That's pre-show bullshit.
Right. And I would say, though, Indy is not a warm guy, so I'm not looking for the same warmth from
You
Indy.
see him with Mutt.
Well, if Mutt, I'm not
Shia
against.
LaBeouf, the Transformers version of Pirates Johnny Depp.
If Mutt was hanging from the ball in front of the ball now because they installed it during Crystal Skull.
Oh, and they were playing like
hair.
Rock Around the Clock, and he's combing his hair. Yeah, sure.
Sure. So
Get to this slide.
we'll just go to the next slide. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
go to
fine.
the
That's
next
all. We can
slide.
go all through it. It's fine. We don't have to
Sorry,
belabor
I've
this
been
point.
doing it.
No, of course.
This is
Oh no, you want to go beef by beef through this one?
I'll go quickly.
boy.
I'll go
All right,
quickly.
yeah.
I'll go. What happened on Transformers? You can learn from the great Theodore Stallworth. And then Bumblebee fights Megatron. He grabs the Allspark. It's so very exciting. You head into the city at a frenetic pace, and then Optimus like roll out, and it's awesome. You're rolling. You feel like you're rolling.
Hang on, get that word out of there. You didn't put words like that in the first description. You can't. You're not allowed to
we
say
already
all
know.
that.
We
Actually,
already know this.
okay.
We already know this.
Rollout is one of the few Transformers things that I do know.
Yeah.
Like, that is one of the things that
I
sticks
have
in my
no
mind.
problem with that. It's the word awesome. You are
Okay.
putting your opinions into this.
Okay,
Well-
fair enough. So you fight Megatron, you're going through the city. Now, this is a good question. I will say, Megatron's the one with the blades, or is that Starscream? I think it's Megatron, right? He's got the blades.
You're asking the
you
wrong
don't even know.
people.
You don't even know. The ride
don't-
that you're saying is better. You can't
Well,
even
whoever has
break
the
it down.
blades, it's thrilling going that close to the blades. You sort of slow down.
I don't want to get too far off topic here, but and get off your flow here. But like, okay, we just breezed past Allspark. This is one of the biggest. What the fuck is the Allspark? Who fucking cares about the Allspark? Are you invested in the Allspark?
It's like a McGuffin.
I love
Again,
the Allspark.
that is
I
a
do
McGuffin.
I do legitimately, kayfabe, whatever. I love the Allspark at this
Why?
point. Because I've been
Why?
on the ride so many times.
But why'd you love it the first time?
I didn't say I loved it the first time.
I mean, Evac and theater
You're
stalwart.
watching the end of the podcast, Paul. Paul, what do you think of the What do you think of the fucking
You
Allspark?
like the Allspark.
Fucking McGuffin. Who cares
Yeah.
what the Allspark is? I gotta grab the thing.
It's fun to say.
Yeah,
Hey,
he might
You
as
gotta
well
grab
say
it.
you
It's
must
fun to
protect
say
the
it.
Maltese Falcon. You must protect the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Say what? But
it's
you said
nothing.
what's one thing? Give me a one specific about the Allspark.
The name of it, I like saying the name of it because I've been on the ride so many times. Like Allspark, and he says
Look, it all
Allspark.
sounds
If he
all
said
good.
couched in the
if he
amount
said-
of time.
He said you must protect my toilet. I would say toilet's great. It's completely in the context of the ride that I like this
understand what you're
phrase.
saying, that,
Okay, okay.
Like who like I understand what you're saying. It has a cool name. It doesn't mean, but it's like you can't say I like the Allspark. It's like that's this thing like.
Well, you could say you
But
love
you could
it,
say
apparently.
you like, but
Yeah,
you could say
yeah.
you like the Maltese Falcon, and who gives a shit about that?
But doesn't it? This is a thing, genuinely, that pulls me out of the ride. I think I do need to care about the goal. If I don't understand what the goal is and what the Allspark does, and I have to watch like a bunch of
me,
pre-show
I thought it was a
videos to
battery.
get it.
That's all it is.
Yeah, it's
right?
like a
battery. I
little
thought it was a
nuclear
battery.
bomb, like a nuclear battery that could, in the wrong hands, could be devastating to the world, and in
And
the
to
right
me, I'm
hands,
like my monkey brain is sort of like I'm just like, okay, it's a battery, and these robots need batteries.
And I
Yeah.
like this argument. This makes sense to me. But if you're asking me to care and for stakes to matter, I think I do need to understand and care about the Allspark.
okay.
And
I
you have
understand
not.
what
No
you're
one
saying.
has made me do it.
It's a little battery.
Well, I mean, it is protected in a nest facility, which, by the way,
yeah.
stands for Non-Biological Extraterrestrial Species Treaty.
That's true. Yeah.
Well,
that's
now
true.
I'm
Here,
in.
can I
Yeah.
just? This is another thing that I want to bring up because now I'm getting into a few things that I feel like I always thought the promise of the premise of these screen rides was that they would be rebooted every 5 years, right? Like, and that's what they've done to a certain extent with Star Wars, the ride, Star Tours, and to great success, in my opinion. But why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we upgrading these rides? Why aren't we changing some features out? Why aren't we having a rotating screen? Why is it so hard
Yeah.
on these rides that are primarily screen based that we can't just, every 5 years swap them out? And so to me, Rise is an art piece, and it's a locked in art piece. You can't change it. There's no screen. There are screens, but they're used to the effect of like you're not wearing 3D glasses. You're in an environment. You've transported yourself to a world. This, I am at a cool 3D movie. I'm at a 4DX show, and this is me talking about it as a fan of this ride. It's the best 4DX ride I've ever been on. I didn't like Jurassic Park, the new one, the reboot, but I saw the first one in 4DX, and it made that experience 10 times better. I said to people, like, when they said I hated that first movie, they're like, well, see it in 4DX, because at least you're feeling like you're on a ride, and that's and that's sometimes what you need.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, they should be able to like put new robots in here and there.
Just something.
At least in the
Give me
background.
something. It's like, how hard is it to do that? Like, you've already built the infrastructure. Like, I can't imagine that film in the programming is that intense.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
know.
that is like cost prohibitive.
I think, yeah, like with Star Tour, they have, I will give Star Tours credit because they have changed, they've put new
The
stuff
only one.
in.
It took a long time.
Yeah.
But they now do it.
But that was the promise of the premise back then, too.
You're right.
Like, it was like, okay, we're going to keep on, we're always going to add new things. You'll never know what you're going to get. Like, that's what we want. I mean, that's the re-watchability. That's like, it's like, I love going on these rides, but if you're doing a screen thing, that's should be part of it. It's like, oh, we can change it up. We can make these elements feel different.
It would be fun if they could do like a full cartoon style Transformers overlay where you go on it and it looks just like the old cartoon or something. Like,
I think
be
that would
awesome.
do it. I think that would it's all it would take for me.
Is that true?
I think so. I genuinely don't like it aesthetically. That's a big thing maybe I haven't vocalized that holds me back because I don't like the movies aesthetically.
Yeah.
I just see a bunch of gears. I recognize that I'm sure you'll say some good stuff about when you go into the mouth of a grinder or whatever.
I
Oh, that's
love it.
Devastator.
Devastator. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Devastator's trying to get you in his mouth, I wrote.
He's specifically a Constructicon, which is a subdivision of the other types of Transformers.
He's a Constructicon, yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it looks
research.
silly when you're looking at all the gears grind. That looks like you're in the video that plays before the movie starts in like a Lowe's theater in 2003.
Maria
Really?
Menudo
It's
should be welcome to.
and
like a
that's the
portal.
20.
I both agree with what you're saying, but I also love it. And I love it when you're in like vibrating and they're rocking your spine.
See,
See,
that
now this is what I hate about this because I like Transformers Around. You're making me argue against it, and I think the more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, this is dumb. It is dumb, but it is a fun ride. It's like a water. It's like me overanalyzing a water slide, right? I'm like, oh, that was a fun water slide. But if I'm starting to think about it, I'm like, well, is it that great? This is that, and this is this. But like, where Star Wars is going to hold up to any sort of, it's gonna hold water.
Let me bring you back, okay? I think
Yeah,
you'll agree with me on this. All right. So when there's a fist fight in this ride between the robots, you feel every punch. And I'm not, no bullshit. I like, as a kid, when you're playing with toys, or as an adult in his 30s, you're playing with toys and you're making the sound effects and you're going, like you like kind of desired to feel the impact. And this is like on one of the only rides where you're watching fights and it feels like you can feel the reverberations of the robots. And it's a gun vehicle based. It's my body's slamming, but like every impact is so like well sound affected. And I feel like you feel every fight. It's like Raging Bull. You feel the impact of the punches.
I will grant you that, and I'll grant that some of the big moments in this ride, I do like, despite not knowing a lot about the characters, being that attached to them. Like, I do like going through Devastator because it's like a gag I recognize from cartoons. Character gets eaten by a lion, or character gets eaten, comes out the other side, like Ace Ventura. You know, or
Ace Ventura, classic.
I don't quite understand. I think the Allspark is very powerful. Is it unlimited power? I think that might be the McGuffin element. So like when Evac says no more running, and you kill Megatron, it's the old trick of like, you want it so much, have it, and like the character like shoves the crystal in the other character's brain or something.
And
it
he punches through his chest, and you feel the impact of it, and it's like. It's all. If you're a kid who played with this, by the way, not a Transformers kid.
Wow, well,
Never
maybe-
this.
Never
It's
owned
all
a
right.
never
It's
owned a
all
Transformers in my life.
Scott, do you know that Transformers was one of the things where it's like this was a toy line first, and they re-engineered that? Not only
I was
that,
wondering that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a characters from like 2 Japanese toy lines that they kind of repackaged for American audiences, and then kind of gradually came up between the cartoon and the comic books, came up with characters and names and expanded it and stuff. Very similar to the G.I. Joe cartoon toys of the 80s and 90s were very
not
give and take.
Not to plug my own thing, but when I did my Marvel 616 doc, I spoke to the gentleman they brought in to I did it all about brute force, which was the idea to do a toy line into a comic book into it was basically a toy line reverse engineered into a bigger IP. And I talked to the definitive Transformers writer, and then we had like a giant section about that I would love to have gotten out there, but it was totally off topic. But yeah, like it's amazing. Like this guy named the majority of like everything that we know about Transformers is because this guy was assigned this. He was a British Marvel writer who just was like, you got to take on this thing. And he really has created most of it just because of it was the only work he could get.
Wow. Yeah. It's so fun. Like there's that Masters of the Universe documentary that's on Netflix, or was on Netflix at least, probably still is. And it's just a bunch of people sitting around the office going, it's a skeleton bad guy, Skeletor. Okay. His name's Skeletor. Right. Meanwhile, cut to now, and it's just
everybody's hyper analyzing every bit of it. I think, Mike, this thing of wanting to get punched, I don't want it. That's not fun to me. And I think this is just one of those, this is just opinion, because you so many times bring up like I want my douchey Vegas pool parties.
Oh, I love it.
With
Yeah,
my
yeah.
I don't understand that one either. Then I think those are very similar. I want neither of these
I
things.
can speak Mike on this because I agree with there are things that I like, but you can't compare the two. Like I mean, it's like you can't compare like a a private island and a Vegas pool party. It's like they're very different experiences. And so I know that like I got in trouble with this with Weiger when I was on Doughboys. I feel like that's maybe I haven't been on Doughboys because I made a mention about like you can't even really talk about pizza that's coming out of the oven because when you have real pizza that we know what it tastes like, everything is we got to judge it in a different degree. But I feel like this is a part of the thing too. It's like you can say like I could say to you, I prefer to ride Transformers after a night of Halloween Horror Nights over Rise because it captures a moment, a mood, an excitement. You know, in Rise, it may not be like a ride that I want to do like 3 times in a day. Splash Mountain, I may want to do like 3 times like that, you know, but that's a different thing.
All I would say to that is that as a kid playing Star Wars, a big part of it was X-Wing, TIE Fighter. You're in the thing and like something would get, you pretend stormtroopers were shooting and you get blown away. Like, I feel like it would go a long way if they had just had a part where you get shot by a big laser cannon and the vehicle like spins out, hits into the wall or something, and then keeps going. There's like some sort of just base level kid desires that I don't feel are necessarily fulfilled on Rise of the Resistance. Like you're getting shot at by lasers. You're never feeling the impact of it. You're never having that moment of when you're a kid and you're doing it. Which you get on like Star Tours and even on the Millennium Falcon.
You got the magic of how did I walk from the outside and now I'm inside the thing?
That's
like,
great
how did
too.
that turn around? I see I'm coming out of the same door. You got I'm flying up. You're going back out into space. You're coming out like there's all that whole thing is magic tricks.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just saying again, ultimate experience. I think if I'm analyzing what I'm looking for, it's something like that you're getting more on Transformers, where you're getting that kid. The thing when you're smashing your action figures together. And I feel like, if it's like, that's the thing I think that it felt like it was a little bit missing for me on the first ride or when I still ride.
Let's let you finish. Let's finish out the list here. Let's do the full
real
arguments
quick,
and then let Paul
so,
make his final
fist
judgment.
fighting robots, I talked about that. Starscream turns into a jet. It's awesome. Oh, the office building. When you swing it in the office building, love it. The first time I ever swung into the office building, I thought that ruled.
Let me
I
say
thought
this.
that was
Something I learned about this. You know who thought of this? You know whose idea this was?
Oh, I don't.
Steven Spielberg. That was his contribution, and it's pretty great. It's
awesome. The first time I did it,
Amazing.
every time I go in still, I know the trick. Obviously, that's not really doing that, but it still is so effective and such a fun difference from Spider-Man that takes Spider-Man stuff to the next level. And then, if Evac is a great little underdog character. He says, no more running. And it's so, you really feel for him. I'm not sure why he's so, I guess I know why he's so strained when he's speaking, but because he's under attack.
An original theme park character, too.
Great. And then we love that.
Marks for that.
And then again, this big punch. It's so satisfying in the way that you play with toys. You punch them all spark into Megatron. It's amazing. It's not awesome. It's amazing. And then you fall. Bumblebee catches you, which is a great effect. But yes, we've seen it on Star Wars, Spider-Man. So, and then, Optimus tells you that your bravery saved the planet. You cry. You see Megatron's corpse, and you cry again.
However you land on this issue, you have to applaud Mike for putting this together.
I agree.
But that said, Paul, I think you need to do you have any sort of final judgments to make now that this has been laid out?
When I first heard the opinion that Mike had, I thought it was outlandish. I thought it was completely baseless. In hearing his very skewed judgment of both rides, and I think he should open himself to a more proper presentation.
How come you didn't say that thing to him about, I didn't say, you should.
By the way, I did say it quietly to the mic.
Say it loud and annoying like you say it to me.
I didn't say it was, I didn't say necessarily it was better.
You're still calm. Say it, spike your voice at Paul. Go.
Oh, I didn't say I said Transformers was better.
There.
Okay. So what did you say? What are we arguing then? What did you say?
I'm saying we're just exploring the idea that it is.
Oh, okay.
And
just asking questions.
To quote
Tucker, I mean Mike Carlson.
To quote the Terminator 2 ride, and so the battle continues.
So what I would say is this: in hearing the overview, I think it really crystallized for me in the last few minutes, which is what you are looking for in the ride. Which is, so I think if we're looking for a technological ride build idea, I'm going to say there's no equal to Rise. But if we're looking for like a thrill ride, a true thrill ride. I agree. I like getting put into that giant pencil sharpener. I like shoving that Allspark into that head. I think there are some really fun visceral moments there. And I go back to my original theory, which is like, I love Fast and Furious, but I also love Jackie Brown. They're very different movies. They both give me certain things that I'm looking for. I think for Mike, what you're saying is the kid in you is more activated from Transformers, and then it ends with this emotional wallop. And not saying that you like Transformers, just saying that like the idea of like a kid playing with giant robots. And that's at the end of the day, like I feel that same way. Like I walk off that ride, I go, this is the best Transformers thing. Why can't they make the movies like that? There's an emotional wallop, there's a thrill, there's an adventure to it. Undisputed, unequivocal, that is true. And I think Rise is different. I think Rise is incomparable to any other ride. But I don't think it packs the thrill ride punch. But I don't think that that's wrong. I think it is an awe-inspiring. I'm not awe-inspired by Transformers. I had fun on Transformers. I want to ride it again. It's Splash Mountain. Star Wars, I'll talk about and say that's the best ride I've ever been on. And that, like, I maybe I'm not adding that much clarity to it, but I think there's room to have that opinion, but I think it needs to be couched in a very specific way to what he's saying. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I think you're right. Yeah.
Mike, what's your opinion? After all that, what's your opinion on this issue?
Let's see here. So after all of this is said and done, Brett, could you put up the next slide up, but then quickly put the next slide up?
Oh boy. Oh.
Could you, like, Brett, could you actually go to the next, reverse it, go to the one before? And now to the last one. Okay.
What's happening?
By the way, that's Finn in the distance there. You can see him.
What's happening?
Sorry,
Just for
are
the
you
listener,
saying that,
what's
Mike,
going
in a
on?
way you agree with me that both rides win?
I think that both rides win if you take the IP out of Star Wars. I think that was a good I think that was a very good argument for Star Wars because I'm connected to Star Wars. I have a lot of emotions. And if I'm looking for a very specific thing, I'm either looking for character moments, emotional moments on Star Wars. I'm looking for certain things. Yes, you're right. I'm putting too much of myself in it and not looking at it just as a big scope ride. So,
would you say the real winners were the friends we made along the way?
Brett, could you quickly type up a slide that says both rides are equally good?
Now, I want to say one thing, because now my children are downstairs. I can hear them screaming.
Sobbing.
By all means. Yeah,
Wailing, screaming.
I will say this. I brought my youngest, who is 5 years old at that point, 5, turning 6, on this ride, Rise of the Resistance. And it broke down, of course. And he was very scared, frightened out of his mind at every given point. Now, this is a kid who's has ridden Soaring. He has ridden Pirates. He has ridden Haunted Mansion. Frightened out of his mind. When the ride breaks down, he turns to me, bursts out in tears, and says, Kylo Ren is going to kill us. And to me, you may not be getting some of that thrill, but I believe the ride is giving you a much darker thing, because he thought Kylo Ren had effectively, like, that the ride hadn't broken down. Kylo Ren had won. He had stopped our car, and now he was here to kill us. So much so that when the ride attendants took us out, he was not trusting them at all. Thinking they were a part of the show, which I totally understand in many respects. So I do think, on a certain level, and we're talking about IP and all that sort of stuff, I think it is giving people a thrill. My kid, that youngest, had never even seen Star Wars, so he's coming into it the same way I'm coming into Transformers. So there's that. There is a thrill. There is definitely a thrill of death.
Which is a thrill.
And then he turned to you and went, Papa, what does this mismanagement of the House of Gucci mean for the company? For high fashion, only Tom Ford can save them.
I think if we're talking emotional wallops, I think this episode has been full of them. I think this has been a fascinating conversation, like giant robots all grappling for the Allspark. And Paul, thank you for joining us and having it with us. I think it's settled, other than we'll probably get into this debate about 7 more times. But for now, Paul Scheer, you survived Podcast The Ride. Thank you so much for giving us.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
all
Now,
this time.
can I say one more thing just as we cap it off? And I know I'm delaying my own leave. You can stay at the Wynn, or you can stay at the Hard Rock Casino, right? It's all a matter of what you want. They might be now. I might be dated because I don't know those two.
If any of that is
represent
good.
Sure.
what I remember Vegas to be.
Hard Rock's
But,
coming back, taking over the Mirage, and Virgin Hotels is running their old property.
All right.
Okay, so all I'll say is this: I think that we're talking about 2 icons, 2 of the best people to do it. Both of these rides, in many respects. And to simply make them fight each other for supremacy, it may not be the best thing. We may just have to live on the Mount theme park more, or whatever that was, and just to appreciate that all these presidents have done something good.
So what you're saying is that the problem really is pitting them against each other and comparing them, an idea that was thought up by Mike Carlson, and therefore Mike is wrong.
Put up my side, Brett. Mike is wrong. Oh, you don't have it. Okay, sorry. Well,
We can put it in
Mike
post.
is wrong.
We can put it in
Mike
post.
is wrong. Actually, Brett, I do have something to bring up. Can you pull up the thing that just says sign? Because we're not exiting through the gift shop today. We're doing it Transformers The Ride style, because at the end you see a scary stencil that says ROP. And ROP is retail opportunity. Allspark Vault Level 4, Section 2. So, Paul Scheer, let's exit through the ROP. Is there anything you would like to plug?
No, just listen to how this get made and Unspooled. We have some fun episodes coming up with some very big guest stars, so that'd be a blast.
Paul, a thrill to have you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
So I do want to say my one favorite discovery about this ride real quick.
We're still going. All right. What is it?
It's very quick. I alluded to it before we started recording. The actor...
You've been so upset about the general.
The actor Glenn Morshower, who plays General Morshower, very weird they used his real last name. He's the Secret Service agent in the TV show 24. He's very good in this ride. How little I think know of these movies. I thought he was an original ride character. He's in most of the movies. There is a moment where the Transformer wheelie interrupts and maybe some of the finest theme park delivery of a line that's very silly but said very seriously. He says to him, "This better be critical, wheelie," and I just was delighted by that. That kind of made my day when I saw that scene.
Well, you've heard it. You've heard it here.
Does anyone have June's number? Let's call June and get Paul back on.
You should hear it, yeah.
Tell those kids to hold their fucking horses for a minute, and let's get that. Make sure he hears the
Better
wheelie
be
quote.
critical, wheelie. It helps that wheelie is Tom Kenny doing like a Brooklyn guy accent. It is very
I
fun.
like-
That's what he
Yeah.
should say. That's what he should have said to his kids. Whatever he had to leave. I hope this is critical, wheelie.
Well, I hope this episode was critical for the listeners. Wheelies.
Our little wheelie.
Our little
And
wheelies.
for all our little wheelies out there in the audience, you can find us on the socials at Podcast The Ride, where I think we have to do the polls: Transformers or Spider-Man, and Transformers or Rise of the Resistance.
Yes, we do.
And I am so curious. I'm very curious. I won't try to lead it any further because it's possible that people will try to vote the other way to fuck me.
Hey, I'm not telling them what to do. They should listen to this episode before. I mean, obviously maybe they will or maybe they won't, but they should listen. We should. Okay, so what we should do is do a poll first before we post the episode, and a poll after, and see who's been swayed.
To be honest, not me, but maybe some of the audience.
Maybe. We don't know.
Yeah.
People who weren't being specifically scolded and finger wagged at in the room during
We
it.
don't know. We'll see.
The battle continues.
The battle continues. Merch
continues.
is available in our ROP on TeePublic, and for 3 bonus episodes every month, check out Podcast The Ride, The Second Gate, or our new tier, Club 3, where we end every episode with a moment of intimacy, a la Optimus Prime, the most heart-wrenching moment in all of theme park fiction. You will find all of that at patreon.com/Podcast The Ride. Mike, I feel like you gotta end it. This has been your time to shine. What do you want the listener to leave with?
I want them to leave with an open heart and an open mind, and I want them to assess things they thought they knew, and I want them to re-examine every aspect of their life when it comes to ranking IP-based rides.
I want to leave and get open heart surgery rather than discuss any of this again.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough.
Okay, we're agreed.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Forever Dog.
This has been a Forever Dog production. Executive produced by Mike Carlson, Jason Sheridan, Scott Gardner, Brett Boehm, Joe Cilio, and Alex Ramsey. For more original podcasts, please visit foreverdogpodcasts.com and subscribe to our shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Keep up with the latest Forever Dog news by following us on Twitter and Instagram @ForeverDogTeam and liking our page on Facebook.